everyone, hope you are doing well. I'm pleased to be joined by Hal from the Sheffield United Way. I have promised them I won't make any jokes about Carlos Tevez. I will not mention Carlos Tevez. So from this point on, I will not speak about Carlos Tevez. Anyway, Hal, how are you doing?
That's 3 mentions already. Yeah, I was doing all right before those 3 mentions.
Anyway, let's talk about your season so far. I mean, 1 point from 6 looks dreadful. Has it been as bad as it looks?
Yes, it has. You could arguably say it's been worse than it looks because we've had to endure it. I suppose with you, you're just sort of looking at the table and the stats, and you can probably just imagine how bad it was. It's been like watching your mother fall down the stairs in a dark cellar whilst getting a root canal, but you're just about to rescue her at the bottom step, and then you tread with open toes on some Lego, and you got to do it again 6 times, and you're about to do it for the 7th. And then someone mentions Carlos Tevez 3 times.
I'm sorry, as if your season wasn't bad enough. You come along here, and this opinionated gobby Scotsman decides to throw some Argentinian name at you. Your manager, Len, let's discuss him. As a neutral, I don't know whether he's got the backing of the fans or he's likely to get sacked. But obviously, after the 8-0 defeat last weekend, I thought, surely he's got to be clinging on by his fingernails now because there's getting beat and then there's getting beat. What's your thoughts on your manager?
I think I speak for most Sheffield United fans when I say we love Paul Heckingbottom. We want to keep him. There's no point changing the manager. It's not the reason that we're not winning games. He's been dealt a pretty tricky hand. He has been since he took over from Chris Wilder, and he's done remarkably well. And he got us promoted last season. We looked fantastic. The amount of people that weren't inviting me onto YouTube channels last season when I could have been talking about win after win after win. It's typical, isn't it? And then this season, it's going to be a long season, but it's not going to be a long season because of Paul Heckingbottom. He is, I would say, the best manager we could get. Very cool, very calm, always stays here. He's never too high, he's never too low. Extremely intelligent man, studies the game away from it. He's done so much outside of football as well. He's got a degree. He's a guy that you listen to, and after you've heard him speak, you go, yeah, I want to do well for him. I want him in the trenches with me. I'll go over the top for him. I like him. Sheffield United fans generally, I can't speak for all naturally, generally like him. And changing things now, when it's his players, his system, 6 games in, transfer window's closed, what would that do? Other than maybe getting someone in who's a motivator and get you to January, because someone like Neil Warnock is good at that, right? But that's the past. Neil Warnock could come in and he's great at G'ing up the lads, and that'll work for maybe 3 games. And then what? Do you just do it again? It's not a sustainable model. Whereas I know for a fact that if we went down, and we probably will, probably go down with whoever is in charge, Paul Heckingbottom, because he's proven it, can get us back up. So when you're a Sheffield United fan, sometimes you have to be realistic and say, what is the best we can hope for? We don't have any money, so maybe being a yo-yo club is the best we can hope for, and hope that in one of those yo-yo seasons, you cling on, you push on, you don't have a massive pandemic, and you're playing in front of fans forever. Because I really think when we finished 9th in 2019-20, had COVID not happened, and people think this is stupid, but I really believe this, and it's my opinion. I think if COVID hadn't happened, Sheffield United kick on. I think we get into Europe. I think if that ghost goal didn't happen against Aston Villa, get into Europe. And then suddenly you can attract a far better standard of player. And I think we'd have been in the Premier League the following season. We'd still be there now, but we wouldn't be struggling like we are now.
Paul Heckingbottom, someone you're willing to step on Lego for. Is that what you're trying to say?
I would step on, the big ships they used to have with the blue sails and the white sail, or the red and white sail. I would step on even a blue and white sailed Lego ship at full mast for Paul Heckingbottom.
That is serious love for Paul Heckingbottom.
Can I ask you a question, though, before
yes.
we jump on any further? You mentioned you're from Scotland. I am also from Scotland. So what are we like? Hey? Whereabouts are you from?
Aberdeen.
The Granite City, right up at the top. Right. Perth. So.
Sorry to hear that.
I think Perth is nicer than Aberdeen. I'm just going to say it.
Probably is. It probably is. Anyway, back to football. I was going to say, I actually echo your opinion regarding Sheffield United pre-COVID. I think you were, and I've said this on this channel numerous times, so our old school subscribers, the one that was here during COVID, will know that I've said this many times. I think your club was probably the ones that were impacted the most by having no fans in the stadium.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that. I felt like
I'll go along with that.
when you were in the Premier League, you were the 12th man. Your fans were the 12th man. Football wasn't always pretty, but by God, it was effective, and you were winning. Bramall Lane was like a fortress, and when that fans got taken out, I felt it became a bit of a much easier place to play, if you like. The intimidation wasn't there.
I will agree with that, but I will say that really we were just riding the crest of a wave. You know, we were just winning after winning after winning. It became a habit. You know, we just played Norwich. We'd beaten them at home. We were about to play Newcastle away before everything stopped. Newcastle had both their goalkeepers out. We'd have gone there and we were just winning and we'd have won. Then we had to wait months and months and months. Players got injured during that time. They weren't able to train together. We're all about team spirit. You can't buy team spirit. By the time we came back, loads had changed. And we went to Newcastle, we got hammered, and we hadn't been hammered all season. We got beat 3-0. And then that can then spiral. You know, we got smashed at Manchester United as well. And I think, yes, fans would have made a difference, but we still put in some good performances at the end of that season. Some memorable wins against Tottenham, Chelsea, got a last-minute goal against Wolves. But I think it was the momentum far more. And then I think a lot of people's mentality changed as well. And I mean that in the whole wider, you know, we don't get too deep on this, but I think a lot of people changed their entire mentality, what they felt was important. It just derailed everything.
Is there any chance you stay up?
Yes. We'll have to put it right very quickly. I remember saying at the very start of the season that our season will be dictated by our start. Now, historically, Sheffield United have started badly and actually managed to survive. We had a season once where we waited till Christmas to get our first win and still survived. But the times are different from then. That was under Dave Bassett. You remember Sheffield United are a founding member of the Premier League. First couple of seasons we were there, and first season particularly, we were upsetting a few of the big boys. But now football's really, really changed, and you can't really get by like we used to do by scouting players that are unknowns from Doncaster Rovers and Port Vale. It just doesn't happen anymore. And if it does, it's very rare because everyone knows every player now, as from here to Ukraine to Germany to the furthest reaches of deepest, darkest Peru. Everyone plays Football Manager, and it's not like a World Cup where you'd go, wow, I've never seen this guy before. Who is he? And even when I was a youngster, because I'm probably a lot older than you, Italia 90, there were players I'd never heard of. And this last World Cup, I knew everyone. And every fan does, if you're as obsessed with the game as we are. And it's the same for the scouts. So finding a rough gem, it does happen, but it's getting rarer and rarer. And for a team like Sheffield United, we often get pipped by other sides when we find someone and we go through the negotiation. It happened this preseason as well, but so many players we were interested in. It's actually happened with a few players that are now at West Ham that we were looking at a few years ago. But the lure of West Ham is naturally, even just when you show the players around the stadium, if you're arriving from the Czech Republic and you see the London Stadium, you see Bramall Lane. Now, I love Bramall Lane, but it's an old school classic stadium, whereas the London Stadium is probably going to be far more impressive to family members, spouses, and maybe the football player doesn't care that much, but they'll listen to all these outside influences, and certainly the agent will have a say, and instantly look at the London Stadium, and that smells like money. Who
have you missed out on that we've got, if I may ask?
We were linked with Souček a few years ago, and I mean, it wasn't one that went particularly public, but I think Sheffield United fans who watch our channel know that if I say we were linked with a player, we were, and I was one of them, and that would have been a tremendous signing. There's players in the past, even further back, that I think we'd have liked, but we weren't necessarily linked with. Like Bowen, I think would have been a perfect Sheffield United addition at one time because we saw so much of him. We played against him so many times, far more times than West Ham, and every time we played against him, he had an absolute stormer. But we never linked. But that would have been a great one.
Right then, players to watch from Sheffield United. Anyone informed? While your team's not doing very well, 1 point from 6, but individually there might be some players that's doing not too shabby. Anyone West Ham fans should be wary of?
This is tough. Gus Hamer started the season quite well, but the last match he was dreadful. I like Jack Robinson. He's not someone you'd say watch out for because he's just a tough, uncompromising, wins every tackle defender.
I thought that was a good tackle he did against Newcastle. It was a good tackle. I didn't even think it was a free kick. Never mind calls for a red card. I was just what's going on here?
But that's real football, and that the game's gone. I mean, you probably tell from my voice, I don't enjoy football as much anymore. Who else? If the ball goes over the top and is played in behind, the pace of Cameron Archer is really quite exciting. So there you go. There's three.
Fantastic. Right, and from your team to my team, what's your thoughts on West Ham?
You know what? One of my best pals is a West Ham fan, so we talk about West Ham quite a bit. And we have this every season that West Ham do well. I always joke with him, right, you're going to do really badly next season because that's the David Moyes school of management. Then so after a bad season, you'll do really well the next season, then a bad season, then well. And there'll be talk about him leaving and should he get rid of. The thing with West Ham is, I think it's amazing how well West Ham have done. Ignore the Liverpool and Man City games because there's mitigating circumstances for those, and very few teams are going to play those two back to back and also get anything. But the rest of the season, I think, is a real yardstick and a good barometer of where West Ham are. I think West Ham are going to have a good season. I like what they've done in terms of recruitment. I'm still amazed that it is Michail Antonio that is kind of the lone striker. I actually watched West Ham live last season away at Ike Larnaca, and I was very impressed with a number of players in that. I mean, one of them isn't there anymore, but a number of players that really I thought, I didn't know this guy was this good. I really like Paquetá. I think he's so exciting and a player that gets you off your feet if you're allowed to stand at London Stadium in the home end. Yeah, I know the away end you definitely can. There's just a lot of players to admire. Soufal, Souček, obviously, really, really good signings that have worked out very well, which were, unknowns. And the goalkeeper as well, Areola. What a keeper! And he's gone under the radar for a few seasons and not always been first choice. And when he stepped up, I've always thought looks like a solid keeper. I can see why he's played for the clubs he's played for. So I think West Ham have a good core. I'm amazed the striker situation is still what it is, but you probably know more about that than I do.
What do you think we'll achieve this season?
So, I wouldn't bet against a European finish. I know you'll have other distractions as well this season, of course, but it depends what you guys really want. I mean, is it a season to go for it in the FA Cup? Is it a season to try and just go for it on all fronts? So I don't know if your squad depth is going to be enough to do that. And for Sheffield United fans, the reason I keep bringing up Antonio is because he used to play for Sheffield Wednesday, and he used to play for Sheffield Wednesday at times as a right back, but then as a right winger, and we also saw him play a lot for Reading. But at no point was he a striker, and he's become one of the best strikers that West Ham could have had over the past few seasons. So strong. There was actually a time we were linked with him as well. But, we could go through more of the players, but there's no point.
Yeah, it looks like you're playing could-have-beens, could be Sheffield United players on Saturday. Well, speaking of Saturday, how do you see that game going?
Do you know what? The optimistic heart in me says that the best we could do would be, we're going to concede, would be to nick a 2-1. That's the kind of the best in any kind of, you play a team 100 times, 99 times against West Ham, we probably won't get the result that I'm talking about. But there is that one time, and it could just happen. You guys have an off day, we play after we've had that horrific game against Newcastle. We've got to show the fans, because otherwise it really does start to get to a very concerning time. So we could come out and play really, really, really well. Everything go right. No mistakes. They're all on their best behaviour. And we could nick a 2-1. My head doesn't say that.
Have you just given yourself a 1% chance of winning?
Yeah, really have. I mean, there's obviously a greater chance than that. But do you know what? I'm so deflated after. I think anyone would be. I wasn't deflated before the Newcastle game, even though we hadn't won a match. That game has completely knocked the stuffing out of me because I've never seen Sheffield United lose like that, and that was horrendous from start to finish. Maybe from 15 minutes in to finish, as we started all right. But it's just knocked me. It's made me go, what do I even believe anymore? And then Sander Berge scores with a header for Burnley, and I'm like, are we in the Matrix? What's going on? Did we all die during COVID? And actually, this is purgatory, because everything feels like a foreign entity to me now. I don't know what's real. I don't know. So no, I don't. I'm feeling very depressed.
This is brilliant. I mean, I hate to say this, but I think I was you last season, because we were in a relegation battle. I was like you. I was a bit, but this season now we've started quite well and things are going well for us. We put Lincoln out the League Cup, by the way. We just not Lincoln.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. Yeah. Well done.
Tough side. There.
Tough side.
I just thought put it out there that we put them out. Yeah. So we're doing all right this season. So I'm enjoying football again. I'm enjoying the results again. Looking forward to the next game or whatever. But to listen to your struggle, it's almost amusing, and I feel a little bit guilty.
It's not amusing. I've been the butt of jokes this week. I think a lot of Sheffield United fans have. I found going into work has been really, really tough. Tonight, I'm going out for a meal with a number of friends, and they all support teams in the northeast. And and even the guy who runs the place we're going to is a Newcastle fan, and it's surrounded by Newcastle stuff. There's just Newcastle things everywhere, and it's going to be constant. I'm going to get it, and I don't know if I need to remind these people I wasn't actually playing, so don't give me too much grief. I had no control over it whatsoever, so I am beaten at the moment.
And one thing I need to ask though is your set pieces. Obviously, statistically, you're terrible at them. All like way out in front for goals conceded from corners, from set pieces, from crosses. Are you generally that bad? Has there been an element of bad luck, or because we're pretty good at them?
Yeah, we're that bad. And actually, Paddy Power did a little one of their funny skit videos, and they've clipped me just repeatedly saying, "Oh, the set pieces, the set pieces." Because the set pieces have been bad. Crosses, I think we've conceded 9 from crosses. It's appalling.
Especially after 6 games. I mean, over the course of the season, you can shrug at that and say fair enough. But after 6 games, 1.5 per game goals you're conceding from crosses is alarmingly high.
Quick maths. It's our new defensive coach, Mark Hudson, who's getting a lot of the blame because he's only been involved with the first team this season.
Well, I think it's a fair thing.
Yeah, you could probably point the finger, but last season we didn't even have anyone designated as a defensive coach.
So no defensive coach is better than defensive coach.
Do you remember Kevin Keegan, manager of Newcastle, and I think he brought in might have even been Mark Lawrenson, said you work on the defensive
I won't
stuff.
recall that element.
Okay, but basically Mark Lawrenson has then since said he was hired to do the job, and Kevin said, "Don't worry, don't do anything. Just go out with some cones. Just have a bit of fun with the lads. Don't worry about it. We're only going to attack." So he didn't have to do anything. And I do wonder what's going on at Bramall Lane. I'm not really genuinely blaming Mark Hudson, by the way. This is too small a sample size, but it doesn't look good.
So are you expecting to continue to struggle with set pieces, and therefore, as West Ham fans, when we get a corner, you're going to go, "Oh, set piece. We can all go get in. We've got a set piece."
Yeah, if I were you, I would celebrate winning a corner like a goal.
Well, I'll tell you something, Hal. I've brought James Ward-Prowse into my fantasy league specifically ahead of this fixture. So, hoping for some return on James Ward-Prowse this weekend. Can I get any final words you've got on the fixture as well as your all-important score prediction? Not your heart, your head. I want to know what the head's saying.
Well, all right. I mean, I want my heart to be right. I want these players to be smarting and to go, we're going to put this right. We owe it to the fans.
Even if that's what you want, it doesn't mean that's what you think will happen. I want to know what you think will happen.
Do you know what? Because if I'd been on the training ground all week with them and I could see the attitude, I'd probably have a better idea. I don't know if they're sulking or if they're going, right, hoorah! And they've completely transformed it, and they've had passionate speeches from motivational business leaders into the dressing room, and they're all ready for a scene from 300. I don't know if that's where they are. If I did know that, I'd stick with my heart guess. Because I don't know that, and that's unlikely to have happened, I will say if West Ham score early, they will win quite comfortably, 3-0. If we get it sort of tight game, 75, it's still 0-0, I still think we'll lose. West Ham would nick it, but I'm going with that first heart one as what I really want to happen. And, you asked me for any final words, final thoughts? No.
Last question then, I promise you. Would you take a point?
Yes, of course I'd take a point.
Is it that bad already? I thought this might be one of these fixtures where you might be looking at maybe getting your first win of the season and going.
I mean, we lost to Crystal Palace at home. Yeah, we'll take a point at West Ham away.
Fair. But you also lost to Lincoln, but...
Well, I mean, did we? It was a penalty shootout, and
did you got to play the cup? I think that's a loss.
Yeah, but the way I look at it is, it's about focusing on what you enjoy and what's important. And we made a conscious decision certainly by the attendance, not to take the League Cup seriously. So in many ways, we've saved us having to buy tickets for other League Cup games. So I look at that as a win.
Anyway, Hal, thank you very much. I've thoroughly enjoyed this episode. If you guys at home have enjoyed it, you want to hear more from Hal, head over to the Sheffield United Way. The link to that channel is in the video description, and their latest video ahead of this game will be on your end slate in about 30 seconds time. You can just click on it. But Hal, thank you very much. If you've enjoyed this video at home, please do drop a like on it, subscribe if you're new to Hamish Chat, and I will catch you in the comments.